think, again, it's so area driven now. It's so area driven. You have to really know the market that you're getting into, in the local market, in the local area, know what's going up around it, know what the your comps are, know what's in this pipeline around you.
Development's always been a bit of a game of predicting the future, hasn't it? On the basis that you are always kind of hedging 24 months ahead.
With AI and the other tools you have now, you can't really look at it like that anymore. It's strange. You have to kind of look at it as in quality of work and quality of clients a lot more deeply than just kind of
a wider point of view. We're not really in a space as a country that kind of rewards growth and entrepreneurship. So the idea of going to go and take a load of extra risk and expansion as a business owner must just...
I think there was a news article we were talking about that Germany have restricted their like fighting age males from like leaving the country or they have to get permission before they leave the country.
Are we going to get to the point of what is the incentive to own a house? Because you can go and rent and probably have more protection going forward renting than you will with a mortgage. Hello everyone, welcome back to what is now episode number 9 of Horde Built Different. Back again, just the two of us, host, just to deep dive on a bit of the latest news that's going on in the world of the property industry, all things construction, and just to dive into a few topics at the moment. So just Alex and I today, no guest with us. Alex, how are we doing?
Yeah, good. The sun is, we're coming into spring, mate. We're through Easter.
Yeah, I know that we're coming into spring because I now can't stop sneezing, having like watery eyes because of hay fever. It's lovely.
I get the really itchy throat. Do you get that?
Yeah.
That's a nightmare, isn't it? That's an absolute nightmare.
Mate, oil prices are dropping, but antihistamine sales are going to go through the roof.
Well, I'm sure there's oil somewhere required to manufacture them. I'm sure there's high oil content in those tablets.
Real world cost of living when the Piriton goes up in cost.
But no, good mate, good. Coming into obviously our financial year end of April, so it's final push at Horde this month to post a good year. Obviously, I think we all know from reading the news, you only have to open up the news or the newspaper every morning to see that it's not an easy time in the property and construction industry across all areas. And funnily enough, I played golf with a client at the weekend, and his dad actually, and his dad's an old school property guy, been in the industry for I don't know 35, 40 years, did big industrial stuff and a lot of resi stuff, and he's saying that I've never known it to be harder than it is now. I've been through the 2007, 2008. But it's never been harder than it is at the moment for developers because you're just kind of like in this perfect storm of difficult planning, difficult purchasing conditions. Land prices are still inflated. Build costs are ridiculous. Regulation is ridiculous, and sales market is weak. So it's like there's not really much going at the moment. That's my positive outlook for the market. There we go.
End it there. Thanks for listening.
But obviously, there's always opportunity. But I think sometimes you've just got to step back and go, look, when you're beating yourself up for not being able to move fast or do more stuff, you just got to look at the wider economic position and go, well, look, it's physically almost not possible. And sometimes you just got to bear down and grit your teeth, haven't you, sometimes, and just get through it.
Well, that sounds like a nice way to move on to let's have a Horde Developments update.
Horde Developments update.
How are we getting on? Any exciting changes since we last spoke?
Each scheme's moving nicely. So that's our 9 million, 8.5 mil GDV scheme in Esher or Hinchley Wood in Surrey. Brickies are on site now for a few months, which is great timing with the weather actually turning. So they'll be pushing ahead there, getting the superstructure up. Branding's, actually, I don't know if you're aware of this yet, but branding has been done. Hoarding will be going up and everything. And then we're obviously starting the soft launch in the next few months. But funnily enough, we just had our response from the council about the naming of the site, because obviously we wanted to call it the Orchards because it used to be on an old orchard site, all that sort of stuff. but they can't. Well, they've refused the orchards because you can't have anything with the at the start of it, and
Full stop or just
full stop because there's too many the roads in the area, and there's an orchard. There's not too many. There's another orchard road called the Orchard or something because we're going to call it Orchard Drives, and we're going to call the houses different tree names,
yeah.
like Sycamore House, which we can still do.
Trees. When you're from the city, do you know 9 different tree types?
Yeah, ChatGPT does.
Big one, small one.
Oak. So, but we can still go with that strategy, but we just have to change the road name. So, me and David were spitballing some ideas last night. I think we've got a replacement, but I don't want to say it yet because we haven't got it approved.
Okay,
but
someone else
cool.
steals it.
I'll give you a clue.
Go on.
It's also part of it is something drive. Okay, because I think drive or grove is probably going to be the word rather than road. It's a city in California, and it's linked to trees. There we go. Quiz for the listeners today. If they get that, then that's you've guessed the road name of our new development. So
I'll save my guesses for the listeners to have a go in the comments and see if anyone gets it. What's the prize for the winner?
They get a free tour of the site. How about that?
Okay, cut the ribbon.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go. What an amazing opportunity. And I think when we last spoke, there was a couple of sites that Mr. Doom and Gloom a minute ago. Presumably, you're sat on your hands like Berkeley Homes. But anything progressing on any new stuff?
Yeah, we're looking at a couple of schemes at the moment. One we're reasonably close on. Again, it's in Surrey. Lovely area. Really, really nice. 15 units, high end sort of apartments. And we're closing in on that. Obviously, I don't want to jinx it, but that's looking reasonably positive. And there's a few opportunities coming up in the Cotswolds as well, which I quite like that area. I think at the moment the market is like, if you're in, similar to what we've done with Isha, like the outlook for the mid-level resi isn't great. I think unless you've got a hold option or a hold strategy where you're going to hold and rent and long term and build a portfolio, I don't think you can commit to mid-level housing aggressively unless you've got a lot of value, unlocked a lot of value through planning. I think you have to be in a really really strong area where there is demand, where there is trends, where there is kind of people there. You know that if you're delivering a good product, you're not going to be sat in the market for long, because ultimately the margin you're going to get is going to be eaten up in your sales process. And if you can't get out of the scheme, is on 10 units or more quickly, then you're not going to be you're going through a lot of pain for not much gain. So those are kind of the areas we're looking. Surrey and kind of Cotswolds, even like northern home counties are quite good spots. So yeah, so we're close to a few. I think you've got to take into account that, look, any scheme we get into now or in the next quarter, let's say Q2, Q3, you're going to be in it for 18 months, 24 months, and you'd like to think that, touch wood, that any cycle surely is going to be on a bit of an upturn in that amount of time. I don't think the market can take too much more restraint for a prolonged period any more than it is, or it'd be a big correction. So yeah, so I think that's kind of the position. But I think coming out of development now must be really hard, really hard. And obviously we know a few clients that are hurting. But then again, on the flip side of what I was just saying, there's a few clients that are developing, like Wimbledon, getting really strong sales values, £1,000 a square foot sales values, which Jesus is lovely. And I think again, it's so area driven now. It's so area driven. You have to really know the market that you're getting into, in the local market, in the local area, know what's going up around it, know what the your comps are, know what's in this pipeline around you. So yeah, so it's watch your space. But hopefully in the next few months we would have next month or so we will have another one, hopefully secured.
Development's always been a bit of a game of predicting the future, hasn't it? On the basis that you are always kind of hedging 24 months ahead, because by the time, let's say you lock in heads of terms on a deal today, you're then realistically you're 4 or 5 months to get it through legals, being pragmatic. You then 12 weeks discharge conditions and get kind of site ready, then most cases you're looking at a year to build something kind of minimum. So yeah, you are 24 months ahead.
It's like our client in the you know where the site in Reading, where obviously he's brought a city centre scheme with consent for 9 units. Brought it, I think, 3 years ago now, 4 years ago. Had a few issues with Sill and neighbours and stuff that kind of didn't want to build at the time, and he's kind of sat in his hands. But when he brought it, you probably do the dev appraisal that time ago, and you go, market's quite strong, and well, Reading markets are okay anyway, but market's strong, build costs are okay-ish back at that point, and he's thinking, oh, it's a good little scheme, lovely design scheme, looks really nice, like good architect on the scheme. But he's obviously now waited 4 years to do it, and the landscape's completely different for him because the build costs are almost 30-40% higher, which is mental with the fire safety stuff and Part L. So we're having to relook at the scheme, look at other options. So I mean, and I think that's the, and I think I've banged on about this before, but I think that's the issue you've got where people have been in options on schemes. So people have been in options and it's taken them, they think they're going to get planning in a year, but it's taken 2-3 years. And they've optioned it on a value which isn't really relevant now because the cost profile of the scheme's completely changed. So I think that's why you're seeing land values, especially in that SME resi space, not really adjusting that much because option holders can't afford to cut that far because they're not making any money.
It's like every business, isn't it? It's got its pros and it's got its cons, and
yeah. I mean, look. I'm making it sound bloody difficult, but it is bloody difficult. And I think everyone should know that. But there still is good opportunities to make good money. But you have to be.
He's also, I mean, biased because it's kind of our industry, but it is an extremely rewarding business, isn't it? When you go through that cycle and you then kind of finally do the hand over the keys to you're creating a product and it's a brand, and it alongside of it's got its perks of it's a good social industry, and it's you're building nice products, so it's not all doom and gloom.
No.
Is it? Like everything. So yeah. And consultancy business is keeping nice and steady, and not really seeing a direct effect of anything going on in the world apart from
funnily enough, I mean, obviously our business is kind of the Horde as a consulting business is kind of two-pronged, isn't it? Where you've got the PM project side and you've also got the building surveying side. And the building surveying side, funnily enough, we've had a really, really good couple of years now with a solid team in place that are really well gelled, are experienced guys, and that's really solidified that side of the business. And I think generally the market, building surveying is one of those weird industries where it's almost that if it's a difficult market, it creates more work because people aren't looking to kind of do huge, big schemes. They're looking to repurpose and invest in sort of renovating the existing building, which is tenanted, and look after rather than sort of looking at redevelopment, bigger projects. And where you've
So I was going to say, just on that, people are also a bit more nervous perhaps when they are taking on units, so they do want to spend a bit of money with a surveyor to make sure they're not walking into a
correct and exactly, and occupiers don't really want to spend the cost of having to move. There's not really much on the market to move to. Industrial, retail, well, not retail, but industrial office. Well, I suppose there's loads of office on the market, but the people would rather stay put now in their existing lease and look at a bit of a refurbishment scheme or a bit of asset management planning to really unlock the value of it rather than sort of upending and moving. So that creates work for building surveyors. But even when I remember my old boss used to tell me, look, a recession's great for building surveying because people are breaking leases. There's loads of dilapidations work. There's loads of disruption. Like disruption is quite good for that market and for building surveying. So it's quite strange. Whereas on the PM side, it's the opposite. Like you need people to be spending money, you need people to be wanting to build, to deliver, to develop.
And also when margins are tighter, they're more likely to go and kind of do it themselves than
Yeah,
take on a consultant.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's been we haven't grown this year at all. If anything, we've contracted the size of the team a little bit. But I think I think a lot of businesses are probably going through the same thing where, like, the kind of when you're building a consultancy business, you kind of got it in your mind that revenue is a multiple of how many people you have. So two and a half, three times salary is kind of like your revenue output. But with AI and the other tools you have now, you can't really look at it like that anymore. It's strange. You have to kind of look at it as in quality of work and quality of clients a lot more deeply than just kind of getting all the work in the door and just getting loads of people in the door and trying to back yourself to find loads of work. It's kind of like actually,
Which comes with more cost and headache as well, doesn't it?
yeah, and obviously the changes in employment and labour bill now, so it's not as easy to be flexible with a workforce. You kind of have to really get a solid workforce in, back
Oh
yourself.
yeah, you had to put all our minimum wages up the other day, didn't you?
Yeah. Minimum wage, mate. I don't think anyone's been on minimum wage as a surveyor in bloody with 50 years. But the cost of employing people and the legalities around it is much trickier now. So you've got to be a bit more strategic and careful about how you
Yeah, just also
people.
from a wider point of view, we're not really in a space as a country that kind of rewards growth and entrepreneurship. So the idea of going to go and take a load of extra risk and expansion as a business owner must just, like, not what's the point, because that's not the mindset of an entrepreneur, but there's an element of actually at some point keeping something a bit steadier and kind of riding the wave a bit might be the more sensible option, that's kind of dictated a bit by the way that this country is at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. That has to be much more calculated risk now, rather than kind of,
because the reward isn't as great.
exactly.
There's not as much incentive for you to go and put your balls on the line, use for a better phrase, than there was maybe 10, 15 years ago, when, yeah, sort of reward for SMEs and people that wanted to go and take a bit of risk was far greater than just being an employee or doing something else.
Completely agree. Yeah, I think there's a wider chat there maybe, but I think that, like you say, the reward versus the risk of being an entrepreneur now and starting a business from scratch is so hard compared to just really being a really good employee. If that makes sense. If you're a really good employee and you're adding so much value to your business that you're in, because recruitment and employment is hard now for business owners, that you're going to be rewarded, because you're not going to want to be let go. You can really name your price in a way. Labour market's hard. There's not enough surveyors or professionals coming through in our industry, because obviously it's not really a sexy industry or like a forward-thinking industry. It's a bit of like a, well, pale male stale, I suppose, industry. And I think that if you're adding a lot of value and you're really pushing on, then yeah, you're gonna your salary can be kind of what you want it to be. So it's an interesting headspace at the moment in terms of kind of look. I mean, obviously I'm sat there. We've got our team day coming up on the 1st of May. I'm going to share the grand plan for the next year to the team, and it's interesting to sort of position it right, really, because obviously you know me probably better than most in the business, but like I'm always going to want to push on or build something or do something, or
Mr. to the moon.
Exactly, but it's like, well, is it feasible to go to the moon at the moment, and two, is it calculated?
Wow, did you say that?
Artemis 2. Very topical point, mate. Very topical.
But they've not
point.
actually made it to the moon, did they? Yeah.
No.
So,
No.
yeah, no, it's an interesting time, and I think a lot of businesses, unless you're probably in the defence sector at the moment, you're probably finding it tough. I know from the sort of circles I am with various different people in various different industries owning their own businesses and so on, and everywhere's a cost squeeze. and yeah, no one's, and it's a cost squeeze from sort of a product point of view, but a massive increase in cost from a running a business perspective. I mean, I think the big thing was obviously, just changing things like NI and stuff with new government, which if you've got a reasonably decent sized headcount of team, can be a pretty hefty cost.
I think my trigger for bailing out of the UK will be if the Green Party get in, or the Labour or Greens do some sort of coalition or something like that. That would probably be my trigger that I'm out of here.
Where are you going to go now, though?
Well, definitely not Dubai. Probably somewhere in Europe, Italy or Portugal or something. Italy or Portugal are quite a tax incentive.
Portugal seems to be a good bet.
Yeah,
quite a lot of stat being a bit
great golf as well.
New place. You say good golf.
Great golf over there. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see you sort of in one of those nice houses down at sort of Val de Lobo, Quinta de Lobo.
Quinta de Lago, yeah, that's the spot,
sorry,
mate.
Not the pronunciation.
Yeah, you've got it wrong, mate. If that's the spot, you've made it. If you've got a pad over there, that's a gorgeous place. But yeah, I think. But speaking about that, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, obviously, everything that's going on with Operation Epic Fury and Trump's ambitions in the Middle East. That what's going to happen with Dubai, because like you've got to think that if it's going to settle down. I would have thought, touch wood again, but you would have thought that, okay, well, there's going to be money or wealth that wants to get out of Dubai at the moment and back into somewhere like London, in property. And I would have thought that there's probably some serious money to be raised over there with Dubai investors that want to put money into UK development, because although you're probably buying it near the bottom of the market over here, especially in London and areas that have been hit the hardest on price decrease. And there must be people thinking that there might be a crash, some sort of crash or massive correction coming in Dubai, because it hasn't.
I mean, they've obviously kept their kind of news very tight as a country, but I don't think I think from what I have read and what you can believe is always difficult because you don't know who's saying what and so on. But I think obviously things like hotel prices have dropped, but I think people are saying that even kind of real estate over there has already started to have a negative effect. And I think the thing that's obviously always been a draw for Dubai, obviously, A, is the tax position over there, and B is just the safety from like a family point of view. And obviously nothing's changed in terms of the safety from you can walk down the street late at night and go, but it's just the very obvious of what's happening at the moment, which just isn't as safe as you would be in the UK. But it's not going to have changed. Well, at the moment, famous last words, isn't it? But nothing would have changed from a perspective of kind of the ability to walk around a town centre and not have your phone nicked or your watch nicked or something, and that's not going to change. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the fallout of it is over time and so on. Because you've still got that big issue, isn't it? And the fact that people just don't feel comfortable being there because of just the kind of the petty crime that goes on. I don't know. I mean, you obviously spend quite a lot of time up there and so on, but like, are you conscious about walking around with your phone out?
No, not really. I think that in the same way that Dubai suppresses and controls their media, I think over here it's blown out of proportion a bit. Like, there's always going to be crime statistics are what they are. So obviously crime is going up, and there obviously are areas, and you have to be a bit more diligent. But I've never sort of felt that you're kind of exposed or there's something's going to happen. You know what I mean? Unless you're unlucky, or maybe I'm just not in those areas, or I've just got lucky. But I don't feel that there's a major issue. Obviously, I know of people that. I've heard stories of people having their watches nicked and phones nicked, etc. But yeah, I haven't thankfully been a victim of that yet. But I think like any big, I think the London, we're getting onto a bit of wider political stuff here, but I think that the London thing is quite easy to correct. You know what I mean? It's just get a decent mayor in there and control immigration, and and bring crime down. I mean,
Yeah.
it's but it's
And actually punish crime. That's the thing that winds me up the most. It's just like good, honest people can end up sort of getting themselves in trouble for stupid things, but you have someone going doing some of the stuff that's going on, and that you just get a slap on the wrist and so on. Seems to be that we kind of punish for the wrong people sometimes.
What was it? I was speaking to my dad about this at the weekend, but no, I won't go into that because he's a very old school way of thinking. But
Not for a podcast.
but obviously, with the issue of all this global security and potential war and World War III mutterings and all this stuff, that, and obviously Germany's. I think there's a news article we were talking about that Germany have restricted their like fighting age males from like leaving the country or going to. They have to get permission before they leave the country, and it's like, well, why don't you? If someone gets arrested for shoplifting or some like petty crime, they have to then do 2 years in or a year rather than community service. Put them in the army.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like get them to do 2 years, 2 years service.
Bold statement here, but this country would be a much better place if everyone still had to do community service. I just think people need to learn a bit of respect. Go through and
love that. Love that comment.
By a drill sergeant and know how to clean your shoes properly and so on. I reckon this country would be a better place.
I can just imagine you talking about that down at the greyhound on the test in your gilet with a load of other farmers. I've just got a great image in my head now.
Ex-military and
yeah, got a great image in my head.
Perfectly pressed trousers and clean shoes. Should we run up for a couple of bits of latest news? I think probably the standout from my point of view is Berkeley Homes kind of pausing all land buying. We probably should have started off on something a bit more positive, but I just said. But yeah, Berkeley Homes obviously paused all new land buying and kind of frozen recruitment while they kind of see what's going to happen with what's going on in the world. Obviously, we've already touched on that on a fair bit, but they're a pretty major player in the house building sector, and we've got 1.5 million new homes to build by 2030.
What is the amount of homes that have been built since Labour have got in? 309,000 between July 24 and January 26.
Well, that would feel like they're on the right.
So they're saying first year performance is around 180 to 210,000 homes.
So that's 10%.
That's well below the 300,000 year target. So it's 300,000 year target. They're sort of halfway, well, just over halfway towards that.
Cool. If I only got half my targets.
Got a quarter of the targets, it'd be good.
Move on. No news.
But yeah, I think the Barclay thing isn't a huge surprise. I mean, obviously, I suppose we both know of, like, you're always hearing about like SME or medium-sized house builders locally that have going under or shutting up shop or aren't recruiting or laying off people, and I think that's now filtering up to the higher ends. I mean, and Barclay are probably in my view, probably one of the better national house builders in terms of the stuff they deliver and this kind of schemes. And you would have thought that, I don't know their details particularly, but I know they do a lot of like big flatted schemes in and around London, and they're not like a
Winchester, didn't they, up at the prison?
But I think obviously they are probably, their model, I imagine, has been more affected by build costs, because obviously what we've seen is that build cost inflation has hit kind of flat developments more than housing in a weird way because of the fire safety.
I think, and the double bubble, and the fact that kind of consumer purchasing trends has been kind of off the back of COVID, is like the flat market has struggled because it's just not as desirable now, isn't it? It's like a lot of people are wanting to be in. I think people would rather be on a housing estate with a postage stamp garden that's surrounded by people looking into it than having nothing.
So I imagine it's just a perfect storm, isn't it? They've probably got a reasonable pipeline. They don't want to overcommit to. they don't want to build their pipeline anymore. So they've kind of they're pausing all new schemes or buying more schemes until they've got their schemes in their pipeline. They actually want to deliver effectively. So just a sign of the market, really. I don't know what percentage where Barclays sit in the chart. I imagine they're top 10, aren't they? I would have thought behind probably obviously Barrett's now a big behemoth and they own Barrett Redrow, isn't it? I think they're combined. Yeah. But I imagine that it's probably them, Persimmon, Vistry.
Barrett, Persimmon, Taylor Wimpey, Vistry, Bellway, Berkeley, Bloor, Calla, the Hill Group, and Redrow. Although Redrow in it twice. There's sort of Barrett Redrow. That was from 25-26 for a data check.
Yeah, so I imagine that they are probably the one in that top 10, which are more focused on, like you say, your city centre, your regens, your flats.
Mm.
And I think that's just a sign of the times, really, that those schemes are hard to be viable, hard to build, and difficult to sell. So it's of no surprise, really. I think a lot of probably people are waiting to see. Look, I mean, you've got when's the next election now? Probably what we've got 3 years left of Labour. It was on 24, so 29. 5 years, isn't it, or is it 4 years here? Can't remember. 4 years, so it's 28. So you're a year and a half away from some form of general election, and I think a lot of them are hoping
government again, aren't they?
A lot of them are probably sat on pipelines that have got enough to deliver for 18 months, and they're going to wait and see what the landscape is in mid 2028 and review then. So hoping that
Rupert Lowe's leading the country.
That would be a good shout. Whether he can get enough in time, I don't know. Farage's getting a bit of a battering at the moment, though. So he's losing a bit of momentum, but I think they've still kind of capture enough of the audience to probably still be a serious contender. But like I said, it's if this green stuff starts kicking off and they start getting momentum with what they're doing, that's quite scary, to be honest.
I think I have to hang the Gila out for good if the Green Party get in.
You won't be able to wear that, mate. It's not recycled material. It'll be banned.
I was looking back on podcast episodes the other day, and there's only been one podcast so far that I haven't got the gilet on.
Hey, just own it, mate. I've never seen you anything else, to be honest. So I'm surprised you didn't wear it in one.
I mean, once it gets above, it's usually 22 degrees, which potentially could happen today. That's usually when I go just t-shirt.
Grey t-shirt is dangerous though. Sweat patches.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
but
get changed. Move on from wardrobe advice. Bit of positivity. I saw that 2/3 of Gateway 2 decisions in the last 3 months were green lights, which is good. And I think we touched on it again briefly previously. I think that was a big stooler and something that I know we were quite closely involved with a client that had some challenges on, but that's a positive. I think.
Yeah, I think it's like anything, is it?
First positive of the podcast.
Yeah, I think the government have put more support into it, and obviously it's like any new regulation. Or I remember when Principal Designer came in, or CDM originally came in. So 2015, I think, was when that first came in, and that caused like a lot of like, well, what's going on? And obviously you had the PD changes again last year for Principal Design and the building regs as well. And obviously the Building Safety Act is a kind of step up, and it's a bit more, way more, a bigger barrier to development than those areas. But it's like when anything comes in, it just takes time to kind of get around it.
I mean, it's just like it's new policy that everyone just has to work out, don't they? And
yeah, but I think the thing with the Building Safety Act, the gateways, is like it adds literally a year to your program, like for a major scheme. And I think that's the timing of it, the timing of the delivery and rollout of it when in a tough market, has probably only made the situation much worse for developers that are already probably really up against it on those sort of schemes. So, but yeah, no, it's good news. I mean, look, we've done all we can to stay away from those kind of schemes, to be honest. And I always advise our clients to try and avoid it like the plague. But it's good to hear that they're getting to grips with it and it's becoming a bit more viable.
Anything that you've picked up in the last couple?
And there was an interesting one for me. Is it said that I think recently, it might have been this month or last month, that planning approvals for data centers has overtaken the planning approvals for office related schemes in terms of value. Which, in terms of value, isn't too surprising because data centers are much more costly and difficult to build in terms of cost per square meter than an office. So if it's measured on build cost value, that's not too surprising, but it just shows the trend in that space that is the. I mean, when you look at them, coming back to my kind of late night business strategizing at the moment for the new year, but it's like when you look at the wider opportunities in the market, you probably are looking at data centers, defense, like you said, and like ESG retrofit. ESG retrofit's probably going to get watered down, I imagine, over the few years, because kind of the narrative generally on sustainability and stuff is and EPCs is kind of going backwards, I think, a little bit at the moment. I think in terms of it's another legislation issue that might get reviewed or constantly reviewed if the government changes. But to get into those spaces, it's difficult from SME because of all the big guys, all the big consulting firms or developers will be looking at, okay, these are the growth areas, how to get into it, and if everyone's piling into it at once, you know what I mean, it's really hard area to get into. So I think that's those are the wider spaces, but I think that comes back to the point now of like, look, the office market, I think, is generally, from what I hear from agents and people in that area that are selling and buying and disposing of these units, is that prime areas are still quite strong, and there's a lack of good quality space, but your kind of secondary, tertiary office space is very, very difficult to I
think expectations from a kind of staffing point of view is that offices have got to be kind of top tier now, in terms of kind of gone are the days of just slightly crappy office space being good enough. And I think with the trying to pull people back into an office, it needs to be a nice environment, and it also needs to be kind of productive and kind of have use to the business more than just desk space. So yeah, I think I've had similar conversations where people are saying that kind of the really good office space that is demanding some pretty good rents, the market is strong, but yeah, the slightly average Joe office space is still going to struggle.
Yeah, and I think even like obviously the permit development, converting them to residential now and all that stuff, it's still a good opportunity in a lot of areas. I think especially around your kind of like Surrey, your home counties, where you're on near a train line, you're kind of town centre like Guildford and all those kind of areas. The PD probably makes sense, but I think down in Southampton, for example, you know what I mean, I don't think you're going to get the values by the time if you've got an office building.
Like very select areas where you will end up it working. I mean, I did a few in the past, sort of office to resi stuff, but yeah, if you go and do the slightly secondary locations, then no chance, because you're buying at probably 100 quid a square foot, converting at
160, 180 a foot. Yeah.
And house value of a flat's £300 a square foot.
Exactly. So unless you're holding and you've got a strong rental play or good financing position, then it's almost unviable, isn't it? So I think that's still a struggle. But yeah, I just think that it's hard to find areas with specialist growth areas at the moment in terms of targeting. I think in office buildings and regeneration of those, that I imagine that I would like to think that Labour will instigate something into the property and construction market in the next year. I keep thinking that since they've got in, but they haven't. But I think that you've got to have.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I think you've got to reintroduce some form of like help to buy, like that's going to or make it easier for first-time buyers. That like it's clear that you're always hearing in the news about. I think the average age for a new homeowner is 34, 35 now. You know what I mean?
And that's not going to be helped to the fact that interest rates are now like north of 5% for those guys buying with minimal deposit.
Exactly, and I think that unless you correct that bottom of the market, not bottom tier of the market, you're never going to get the housing market moving, really, because you need to. Most developments have some portion of some form of that, or medium-sized big developments have some form of first time buyer element to it, because obviously in the flat space, you've killed the buy to let market with the tax and the renters reform bill, whatever it is. And you've also killed the first time market of interest rates and build costs. So,
and also just, I think, I don't know whether it's kind of a design, but it's becoming a lot easier to rent from a tenant perspective because of your rights, which some I think are good, some I don't fully agree with, but that's a conversation for another day. But it's so bloody hard to go and buy a house. Like the challenge to go and like the hoops you have to jump through to do a mortgage application now. There's so much to it, and also then you've then got the complete uncertainty of kind of what your mortgage is going to do.
yeah,
Real life. I mean, my mortgage when it comes up for renewal at the end of this year is going to double because of interest.
Yeah.
rates. That's
be knocking on my door for a pay rise, won't you? Can't wait for that.
that was just a little slip in.
Yeah.
Early little. No, but yeah, all of these things kind of also like, are we going to get to the point of what is the incentive to own a house? Because you can go and rent and have more protection. You probably have more protection going forward renting than you will with a mortgage. Because if I suddenly in 6 months' time my mortgage doubles and I can't afford to pay it because my boss hasn't given me a pay rise, so I'm having to eat rice and beans, the mortgage company aren't going to be as easy as if I didn't pay my rent. They're just going to come around.
Yeah.
Change
No, I mean,
get me out.
I rented now. Well, I own a flat and I rent it out, but I've always rented my primary residence for the last 6 years now, and I think that I quite like it in a way. Like in a way,
If you suddenly want to go to Portugal, move your life over there, you could do it in a month.
And also, any issues with the house, boiler goes, just ring the landlord.
Yeah.
Roof starts to leak, ring the landlord. You know what I mean? There's a lot less worries. It's just less life admin that you need to worry about.
And it's probably not okay. You don't have that, but I mean you have got it because you've obviously got your flat as well. But historically, it was always like you're making money by just doing nothing because your house is going up in value. And where I'm sat today, I'm lucky in the fact that we've done all right from what we bought it from. But if we were buying it 2 years ago and probably predicting the next 3 years, I reckon in 5 years you'd be pretty stagnant on house prices. Plus you've then got interest rates that are really high, and yes, okay, part of your mortgage is repayment, but the other part's interest. But then you've got the general upkeep, you've got the stamp duty, you've got my dad used to always say to me that if you're buying and selling, even in a very buoyant house market, if you're buying and selling again and moving within 5 years, you'll lose money just because of your cost to move.
Transaction costs.
Stamp duty and anything. So, I mean, it's just that very British thing of owning your castle, isn't it? That we kind of still people thrive towards. But then at the same time, like if we're moving to more of this world where people are renting, then you need to stop disincentivizing landlords.
Exactly.
Anyway, off to a very good, enjoyable episode. I think we'll probably wrap things up there. Good to touch on a few bits of latest news and get a bit of an update from the ground, boots on the ground. We will be back in a couple of weeks with should be a guest this time. So do tune in if you're bored of just Alex and I. We promise this isn't going to carry on going forward. Please do like, subscribe, comment. Any suggestions always welcome as well. And actually, do you know what? I don't think we've ever actually done a plug for Horde socials. So Alex, if you can remember what they are, give us a follow on the socials as well.
I can't remember what they are, but if you type in Horde, you definitely find them.
It's got for next year.
I think Horde Ltd. If you put Horde Ltd on Insta, LinkedIn, Facebook, you'll find us. So on our Insta page, you'll be seeing over the next few months a lot more around our development, Isha, and progress there. and also some other sort of stuff we're delivering for clients. So definitely worth a follow.
Spot on.
Lovely stuff. Well, have a good day, mate. And thanks
you.
everyone for listening.
See you later on.
Cheers.